Welcome back everybody to another update on our game Karvaros. My name is Doc. In our last devlog, I went over and kind of showed you guys what progress we've made on the demo map so far. And today's episode, I wanted to go over and talk about kind of the enemies of Karvaros, specifically some of the enemies that you guys will be able to see in the demo that's coming soon, and then also what basically going over kind of workflow in Blender and Blender to Unity is for me. Also, our game is on Steam now, so go ahead and go check that out, add it to your wish list so that we can get a better idea how many people intend to buy the game. If you're looking for a way to support us, we do have a Patreon. Go ahead and check it out. It's really simple. You can give as little as $1 a month. It's also a great way to get things like these stickers. So if you want to get your hands on those, make sure to check that out. And we'll have some more coming soon for other creatures, especially the ones that we're going to be showing you today. So without further ado, let's go jump into the girth of it. So, first thing I do is I get one of Alex's models, open it up in Blender, and the first thing I have to do is rig it. So rigging is basically where you're creating this like skeleton. Each little bone is going to be assigned different parts of the mesh of the model. And this is important to be able to actually animate the model. You have to create this first. Once when you kind of finish rigging it, you can use this function that auto assigns weights, which will basically determine what mesh is kind of around and near each bone, and then assign that mesh automatically to that bone. Sometimes it still has kind of some issues and needs some help, so I'll go in there and manually weight paint some areas and fix it up and make sure it's working right. Once when I have the model weight painted and working kind of properly, I start animating it. The first animations I usually start with is getting an idle, a walk, and then basically a running animation. From there, I start to work towards like kind of making like the different attack animations, dodging or strafe. And then once when I kind of have all of those, I like to review over them and see if any of them kind of need transition animations. Once when I've got the model all animated and ready to go, I export it into Unity, and then in Unity I can start setting up my AI, attaching all my scripts, and getting it all working and ready to go. Before I actually do that though, I like to take all the animations that come in the file from when I exported it, and I duplicate them and then move them into their own folder. The reason why I do this is if I don't, those animations will be read-only, which means you can't really do any kind of like editing to them, and specifically, you can't put any animation events on them. Okay, so kind of moving on from that, let's go ahead and go into the vision for the enemies. So originally I had in mind that they were just kind of behave how an animal would behave, but I kind of had to rethink that and think, okay, this is a game, it's combat focused, so the combat needs to be interesting. I wanted to make sure that the way they kind of functioned would be when you fought a new enemy, there'd be like this learning experience where you're learning what the enemy essentially is about, what the tactics of the enemy is going to be, the strengths, figure out the weaknesses of how you're going to handle them. But at the same time, I needed to think about all the different way the creatures are all working and make sure that when put together, I can make some pretty interesting scenarios for the player to have to handle. I really liked Remnant from the Ashes, how like they had this like infection thing that you could get that would cause your guy to cough. It's really annoying when it happens. So I wanted to kind of copy the idea Yeah, pretty much copy it. But basically the idea is there'll be such thing as coral cough.
How original.
What happens is when you destroy this coral, it can create these like dust clouds. So the idea was in the areas where there is all this dead coral, that the spid crabs in general will have coral growing on them, but now this coral is dead on their bodies, making them kind of a more cautious creature, but will be in between attacking you and then occasionally doing this shake where it's going to create this dust cloud. Basically it makes it so that anything nearby you're going to want to avoid. Yeah, so the crabs are still going to be pretty difficult to kill, but they won't be too powerful against you. They're going to work actually more of like a support creature, and by themselves they actually won't be too hard to manage fighting, I think. Then there's the pellets, which are going to be more offensive but easier to kill, like pretty much one-hit kill on them. But one of the tactics I want to make for them is they're a flying creature, so they potentially can come from higher points down and you may not actually see them coming, as well as the fact that when they actually attack you, they're going to latch onto you and basically start stinging you and just like poisoning you. When they also latch onto you, it's going to add onto your character's weight, which is going to slow you down overall, which could create an interesting dynamic. And then there's the bush shrimp, and they're good because they'll get out of the fight quickly and they come back in quickly. Anyway, so the idea is that they basically will charge you and they do like a headbutt, and then they basically just roll away. And they won't really cause any kinds of effects on you like the other creatures do. So yeah, I kind of got the idea for the bush shrimp rolling from Legend of Zelda. There's like the golems that roll around, or gorgons, what are they called? Anyway, if you played Zelda, you know what I'm talking about. So originally the idea was that the rolling would be their actually offensive attack, which I'm still not too opposed to it, but I do like the idea of them kind of rolling away and being like kind of defended when they roll up, almost like a roly-poly, if that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, that's basically what the creatures we have right now, and some of the ideas we have for how they'll work. What I'm working on right now is putting together basically a play test for the combat and fighting those creatures. That'll probably be kind of the first demo for when I actually release like the demo map for people to be able to play test, because I want to make sure the combat is going to be good. You know, if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them, and even better if you're creating art for me to see. Like, that's... Anyway, so seriously, hit the notifications bell because I soon will be releasing some playable stuff. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned.